Good morning, English 5. How are we doing here on this Thursday morning? Hope everyone's doing all right. Um, just going to go over the plan of what you need to work on over the course of today, Thursday, and Friday. So we're still underneath that RAT2, RL4 unit. We're going to move on to lesson 3, which again, this will be all active and posted for you by the time you can even watch this video Thursday morning. So I'm going to go through that with you. A couple things I want to go over. So it is important to make sure that, especially if the virtual kids, you're watching this movie, try to go through some of this in class as well for the hybrids. So lesson 3 is analyzing text for central ideas. Again, the video that I'm creating right now will be on here as well. Here are the slides I'm going to go over, and there's 2 other things that are attached in here. I'll go over those as well in a second. Lesson 3 is analyzing text for central ideas. It may sound familiar, and that's okay. Or that's all right because it should sound familiar, and you'll realize that in a couple minutes too. So recap. Last week, I know I said this as well to start off this week, but I want to make sure that we can understand and see the vision of where we're going. Last week, you complete a central idea graphic organizer chart for Strong to Gold. I started that one. And then at the beginning of this week, I showed you a completed model for that chart. And I wanted you to take a look at that. Hopefully you guys are able to see similar. Hopefully you're able to complete yours, or you're able to compare yours to mine and saw some similarities, at least in some of those big ideas and how they connect back to, or some of those key details and how they connect back to the central idea statement. And then in the beginning of the week, we explored some additional texts, and you read and just interacted and reflected with those texts from that text set 1, those nonfiction texts. Now, what we're going to pivot to today is I'm going to pause, and because we're going to eventually get to writing an objective summary. And I wanted to introduce that concept now, even though you're not going to do it today, because it's a natural progression with as far as the model goes. So what I wanted to show you is how you could go from the central idea graphic organizer that we did and the model that I put together for Strong to Gold, and how I could use that to help me write a complete objective summary. So I'm going to show you that right now. I think I have that. Oh, I have that up on a different screen here. So on the top, I'll show you this as well. This is a blank format, a outline for you with some very generic sentence frames. I've used this in the past to help students put together an objective summary model. Usually it ends up being 1 paragraph, but I just try to show you how you can set this up and then how that could possibly look in the paragraph form. And you always start with a central idea statement. Again, that comes from the standard, and I'll go over this in a second as well. I'll review all this. And then I break it up into the beginning. What does the author do? How does he develop the ideas? Then later, in the middle, and at the end. So you'll see that in here. I don't use so much these robotic phrases so much in my own version, but that's at least, again, showing you the general format. So we have here, this is the same central idea statement that was in the chart. In Sandra Cisneros' essay, Strong to Gold, she describes her life experiences and how those experiences led her to become a writer. And then transition. In the beginning of her essay, Cisneros explains 2 seemingly impossible tasks. She has to make corn tortillas, which she has never made before, and connects that to passing her MFA exam. She uses these stories to introduce her idea of being surprised by what she could accomplish, especially by reflecting on where she's been. Cisneros shifts her memoir to talk about the obstacles preventing her from finding success. She focuses mostly on her early family and school life. She brings up having to move often as a child, feeling like an outsider at school, being overshadowed by her brothers, and dealing with the pressure of staying home and getting married. Cisneros finishes her essay by highlighting what she sees as the turning point in her life and the events that happen after the events that, see, I adjust this every single time. And the events that followed that led her to become a writer. I don't know if I like that better or not, but anyway, she discusses living in her first home, attending college, and traveling the world on an NEA grant. In doing so, she reminds her readers that it was through her life experiences, both good and bad, the straw, and that led her to find success in writing, spinning the straw into gold. So again, objective summary, summarizing the text, trying to make sure that we have some big ideas and that we're showing how they develop and connect over the course of that text. So that's what I'm trying to show you with that model. All right. Again, trying to keep that color code system for you. The blue was the beginning, yellow, and the red was the end. All right. So I'm just going to quickly go through some notes on how to write an objective summary. We're not going to do this until next week, but I just want to introduce this concept to you so that we could maybe hit the ground running a little bit more next week, so you don't have to spend so much time on just some of these general notes. And I'm assuming you've done this before as well, and a lot of this is stuff that you might have heard before and kind of like, okay, I get it, it's more common sense. So I'm not going to kind of whip through this. First, though, again, is that standard. So reading informational text 2, this is the objective summary standard. Again, broken up into 2 parts here. Underline is what you have to know. And then this bolded part is what you have to do to show me that you know this. Right, so this is the standard again. Determine 2 or more central ideas of a text. Analyze or explain the development over the course of the text, beginning, middle, and end, including how they interact and build on one another. So how they're connected to provide that complete analysis. How are you going to show me you can do that, or you know how to do that? You're going to provide an objective summary. All right. Again, I assume that most of you have written summaries before, and now that you're juniors, you probably have written them in a couple different classes, not just English. But just as a kind of reminder, 3 specific guidelines usually that all summaries need to follow. They need to be concise, which means that they're just focusing on the main ideas, and they're leaving out some of the things that aren't important for just getting the main, all right, what is this about? Give it to me in a nutshell, so to speak. Don't give me all the small little details that aren't going to help me understand what the main message is. Sorry. A good summary is also complete. It covers all the important ideas. You're not leaving out any. And then finally, it should be objective, so you're not putting your own opinion into the summary. You're just stating what it's about. You're not saying things like, it was cool when, or what was really interesting was, that's again putting your own opinion in there. Or I hated when she said, same thing. That's not objective, that's subjective. All right, here's some basic steps to create a summary. Depending on what you read, skim the text, looking at titles. Are you looking at paragraphs? Do things have headings? That kind of helps you break things apart to understand how the text is organized. Second, obviously, you need to read it. I always suggest reading things twice. I know that sucks, but reading through once just to get a feel, and then reading through twice, and that's kind of step 3 here, annotating and really taking notes on it to understand it. Rereading it twice is really the best way to do that. I know you've been taught how to annotate before. Here's just some suggestions. Underline topic, sentence, or key facts or important details. Make note of why you feel like things are important. If something doesn't make sense, note it. Another thing that you can do, this is still underneath the annotation, step 3, is to try to chunk the text. This is really important for summary, in my opinion, to see how the text is arranged, how it's organized. Can you break it up into smaller parts? If there are different like subtitle sections, subheadings, then it kind of breaks it up for you by topic. But if you can break up, again, I always try to break up things into 3 different parts. Sometimes you break it up into more, but 3 makes sense to me, because then I can kind of do, okay, what was the beginning about, middle, and end. But depending on how long the piece is, you might have to break it up into more chunks. And then once you finished, annotating that, really looking over and analyzing that text, see if you can write a central idea statement. That was that green part in the model and in the chart. If you can try to summarize what that piece is all about in one sentence, that usually helps you write the rest of it, if you can try to summarize it into one sentence already. And that's where you kind of need to start, because that's your driving point. That's kind of your anchor or organizational tool to write the rest of the summary. and then write that bad boy. So you have the central idea statement. Then you need to include all those main details from those different sections of the text to help support that central idea statement. And then look it over, make sure you double check it. We don't have to worry too much about this because I'm just going to ask you guys to do one paragraph later, but you should always make sure that's not really super long. It shouldn't be more than 15 to 20% of the original length of the piece. For Straw into Gold, again, we're only looking for a paragraph. You can maybe want maybe 2 paragraphs, but that'd be pushing it. And here's the outline that I showed you on the other document when I showed you the model for Straw into Gold. Again, you have the central idea statement, and then you have those 3 different parts. Now, this, like in my model, this might be 1 to 2 sentences for each part, or it could be 3 sentences for each part. It really depends on how much you need to cover. Some students take these little sections literally, and then they give me 1 sentence, which is okay if your piece was really short, but oftentimes you need to make sure that you're fully explaining the key details of what was in your, fully summarizing the key details and how they connected and referred back to those central ideas in each part of your summary, or each part that was each part of the text that you broke apart. All right, so again, we're not going to write the summary right now. What you guys are going to do is take the next step to get to the summary, which is you're going to complete your own central idea graphic organizer for one of the texts that you read at the beginning of this week. So one of those ones from text set number 1 that you filled out the chart for, you reacted to, you wrote about whether or not you liked it, what was interesting, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to go back and fill in a central idea graphic organizer for that, or for one of the ones that you read. I have linked the document in here. It's on the previous assignment as well, that houses all the different text for you if you need to get to that one. But I'm going to go over to Google Classroom now because I have the document. This is what it's going to make a copy for you. It should look very, very similar to the one that we did for Straw into Gold, other than it's just a little less specific because I need to make sure you can fill this in for whatever it is, whatever text that you select that you want to fill it out for. I have in the directions too, I added this because I'm not there to break apart whatever option you picked into 3 parts. I'm suggesting that you go back and try to break up your own chosen text into at least 3 sections so that you can kind of get organized and see, okay, where's my beginning, my blue section going to be, my middle section, the yellow, and then finally my end section, the red. So that's an idea that you should start with. In the notes from the slides, you should try to see if you can write that central idea statement first. What are those, those 2 big ideas, those 2 central ideas that were covered in the text that you chose, and then see if you can work from there. Again, you still need to have at least 3 direct quotes in these sections, and then make sure that you're explaining how those details represented by the quotes support that central idea statement for your chosen text. I have a note in here. I can show you how to do this if you have questions. Kami, this is a Google extension tool that allows you to edit PDF documents. So that's how I was able to section up Straw into Gold, is I used Kami, which allows you to draw and write on and do all the stuff on PDF documents. So if you want to add that on a Google extension, again, Google extensions are up here. And you can manage extensions. You can search for the Kami Google extension, add it on there. Pretty simple to do. If you have questions on that, I can help you figure that out. But that's just if you want to be able to literally annotate on your PDF documents. If you can figure it out and you have a different system to make sure that you chunk it, go for it. But that's just another way that you can write on it and you can save it, and those annotations will save on your PDF document as well. All right, so again, what you have to get done over the course of today and tomorrow is to choose one of those texts that you read for Monday and Tuesday, and put the chosen text, title and author, and then fill out the rest of the chart. So central idea statement, your details, explain how those details support that central idea statement, again for the beginning, middle, and end of your chosen piece. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to go over. Again, I have linked the document, so if you need to take a look and see those different PDFs again for the text set number 1, that was linked on here on that last page for the slides. It's also linked directly into that last assignment, lesson number 2. As always, again, send emails if you have questions, but that's what you're working on with the course of today and tomorrow. Make sure you submit that by tomorrow night, and you're good to go.